This week in PlayStation, we're talking about PlayStation's accessibility controller, the end of the PlayStation 5 shortage, and every game coming to PlayStation in 2023. We'll have all this and more because this is PSI Love You XOXO. Welcome to the show, everybody. That's Blessing. That's Janet. I'm Greg, and you can get this show on patreon.com/kindafunny. Over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you could be watching it live just like Cooper is, Casey is, and Ash Amiibo is. Of course, you could get it ad-free, and you could get 38 bonus episodes of content each and every month. If you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. Support us, of course, by using the epic creator code KindaFunny when you're playing Fortnite, Rocket League, or Rumbleverse on your PlayStation. Of course, you can get the show for free on youtube.com/kindafunnygames and podcast services around the globe each and every week. Chock full of ads. Fuck you. Go to Patreon. You know what I'm saying over there? Just like our Patreon producer, Delaney Twining, did. Today, we're brought to you by Honey, but let's start with a PSN message from you. For starters, Janet, is this a new gamer chair? At one point you got up and moved and I was like, damn, I don't think it looks different. Is it different?
No, it's the same one.
Huh. It must just be that we're back in the home setup. I'm not used to seeing it so like dead on. You know, usually.
Yeah, maybe. It has like a graphic on it.
But it's always had a graphic on it, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, but maybe you didn't like realize that or think about that. Because usually I'm seated in the chair. Yeah, that's what I do.
I remember the graphic.
You don't remember shit, Blessing. Shut up.
I remember the graphic.
I remember it being a big deal when she got it. I remember you posted it on like social medias and stuff.
Yeah. I did like a review of it and stuff.
Well, I like to keep myself so fresh with everybody. I don't follow any of you on social media. That way I can always have
and the truth comes
observations and conversations with you. You know what I mean?
He's muted all of us.
Exactly. I'm not like
that's his move. That's what he does.
That's what I do over there. Blessing, how cold it is in your room.
It's so cold, but also I just put on the sweatshirt right before I sat down to do the show, and now I'm so hot. Shout out to the sweatshirt. Why don't we have any merch as good as
kind
this?
of sweatshirt?
What are you talking about? We have the bomber jacket's better than the sweatshirt.
Yeah, but the bomber jacket's like what, 3 years old? Let's step up the PS I Love You merch. You know what I mean?
Like, you're not wrong.
Look how cool this
it's not as like constantly wearable. That is a really good sweatshirt.
Sure. We have we have the PS I Love You crew neck sweatshirt.
Yeah, but it's not.
I like
cool,
that one.
Though.
Yeah, but
fair enough. I'm not wrong. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong. Is what I'm saying.
I'm just saying,
like, I like it less on camera though. Because I feel like it doesn't come through as much on camera. But in person, it's great.
Yeah.
The kind of funny XCast hat has the faces of the 3 hosts on there. Why don't we have something like that? Can we get like a scarf?
My face on more stuff in 2023.
Can we get a scarf with like a pattern of all our faces on there, or like I don't know?
Our take on the American flag. Is what I'm saying. You know,
I'm tired of Snow Mike getting all the cool merch.
We're brainstorming now. We're up in the tree of trust.
Can we get a sleeve for the dual senses?
Don't worry about the show. This is what we're doing now.
A sleeve for the dual senses, and like and replaceable buttons where the X button is Greg. Sorry, the cross button is Greg. The square button is Janet. The triangle is me. The circle is Barrett.
We can also just work with toasty stickers, and then you could get like that nice overlay for the touchpad. That would we could be our faces or whatever.
Ooh.
I really want to put my faces on all my family's controllers without asking them about it. So
sure, it's just there one day. It's just there one day.
Is there something we can do with the PS5 covers?
It's the cost of the gift.
Of course there is.
Can we like make one cover the face, like my face, make the other cover Greg, Janet, and Barrett's face?
We gotta do halves of faces.
Wow.
Hey, listen, I don't make the rules here.
We gotta do halves of faces so that you can like mix and match them.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Here, Nick at Campfire Designs.
Today I'm in the
does most of the merch. I mean, we have a whole bunch of people who work and do different stuff, but he's done most of the merch. Of course, he made the old Wild Aces thing back in the day. He did the all over bomber jackets and the prints and all that. Just Campfire Designs. The challenge has been issued by the one and only PS I Love You XOXO, celebrating its 150th episode today. By the way, no big deal. Woo! Celebrating 8 years of Kinda Funny today. No big deal. Just celebrating it from home because San Francisco is in the middle of a giant flood. It's not safe for anyone to go out. Blessing just got power back a few hours ago. Campfire Designs, the gauntlet has been thrown. All right, we're sick of you giving XCast all the cool merch. You need to make us something cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Right now, Booty Pop 88 writes in to kindafunny.com/PSILY. Just like you can to be part of the show for free and says, so over the break, Bless and Greg said they were going to play Witcher 3, but you both said there was no way you were going to beat it. It's close to 100 hours if you do everything, which had me wondering, especially for Greg, a new dad, do you ever see yourself beating from start to finish a 100-hour game ever again? Thanks for all you do. Now, of course, Blessing, Booty Pop 88, one of my favorite Booty Pops.
Shout out Booty Pop.
Directing this all kind of on the new dad moniker, but he is they are bringing you down into the mud as well, because we both said we were going to play Witcher, but probably not beat it over break. What was your Witcher progress over break?
Here's my thing. A few weeks ago, sometime early last month.
So many sentences that way.
Here's the thing. Early last month, I was hanging out with the one and only Jeff Grubb. He has a show that's basically Jeopardy, but it's like Jeopardy or something. I don't know.
Is that on Giant Bomb, or is that what's is he?
I think that's just Jeff Grubb original.
He's already future-proof and trying to get out of there.
He had a question.
If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready, you know?
That was basically asking, who was this composer? Like, he gave us like the moniker of a composer back, like a classic composer. You had to guess who the composer is. I forget what the moniker is, but the composer was Koji Kondo. Like, Koji Kondo, the story is Koji Kondo used to go by a different name while composing for certain games, and it was either a non-compete thing or there was only a certain amount of games he was allowed to do kind of thing. I forget why, but all I know is that he used to go by a certain pen name. Do you think Booty Pop 88 is actually Radic from CD Projekt Red, and he's trying to use this question in order to guilt us into going back to Witcher 3?
I mean, it's more like he's focus testing to see if it's just the day and age of a 100-hour game is over with, right?
I'm on to you, Booty Pop, aka Radic. I started off Witcher 3. I started
during break.
During break, yeah. I started Witcher 3. I played quite a few hours. I got past the first original area of the game, which isn't that long. Got into what's it called? Not Novigrad. The like second big map, right? Because there's like the two big areas. But I got into like the first big area of the game, and I just got bored. And then I went to other things.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's not Witcher. That is not
review.
That is not Witcher's fault. It's more so of me. It's me and my mood.
You're doing it's not me, it's you to The Witcher 3?
Blessing, thank you for coming to my side on this one, you know?
Is that what happened to you too, Barrett?
It was around the time...
he thinks Witcher's a bad game. That's what he's saying.
Well, no, I didn't say that at all.
No. It was, I thought the controls didn't age well. And I will say for the next gen remastered, they did update some things that did make it feel better. But it is one of those things where, I jumped in when the first season of The Witcher came out, and I was like, all right, this is my time to go back and play Witcher 3 again. And I was like, oh man, this control scheme kind of aged like dog booty here. So,
Booty Pop.
And what I will say, running around the environments, I think the environments of The Witcher 3, especially in the remastered version, look incredible. I really loved walking through the forest and like really feeling like I'm immersed in the world. That said, I am kind of with Barrett that I think the actual gameplay of The Witcher feels a bit dated. In a way that was a bit tough for me to get into originally. And I think it was just enough to where I was like, okay, do I want to play a lot more of The Witcher 3, which is a game that I did play a lot of back in 2015, but just I never completed, right? And then fell off of because fantasy stuff is not really my bag. I prefer more of the Cyberpunks or the Fallouts of the world compared to the Witchers or the Skyrims. Do I really want to go in and like focus myself on this game, especially during break, which is like, I'm not trying to work during break, right? Like I'm trying to do things that inspire joy, right?
Wow, and The Witcher doesn't inspire joy. This is brutal.
And during those 2 weeks, it didn't. But you know what did? FIFA did, and FIFA took all my gaming time during my break. So that's really what happened. Is I got super into FIFA, and then I put down The Witcher 3. Yeah,
that's more accurate probably than what went wrong for you. What went wrong for you? I mean, a similar thing, right? Where it's we had a whole.
You got really into FIFA.
Welcome. Oh man, I was out there dribbling and shooting left and right.
Who's your team, Greg?
My team?
Yeah.
Oh, I like the Hotnum top spots, and they're over there, and they're
great.
They dribble it up and down the field. You know what I mean? No,
the Tottenham Spurs.
We're back for the first time since break, which seems ridiculous, but because we hang out and talk so much. But we are right, and yeah, when we left, Witcher 3 was on the list for me. Callisto Protocol was on the Platinum was on the list for me, right? And then some review games. What happened was that none of that happened. We said that on Thursday, right? On Saturday, I went to pick up our new dog, and I had time to kill, so I brought the Switch. and I started playing Pokemon, and then I played Pokemon for a week straight.
Boo,
and then
traitor.
You love Pokemon.
Yeah, but it's a PlayStation podcast.
I know. And then when that was done, or not even done, a similar thing happened like literally a week later where I was like, oh man, I've been logging in, getting my credits in Snap. I have a moment here where I just have my phone. I should play some Marvel Snap, and then got re-addicted to Marvel Snap for a week. And then now that we've been back, I've been working on a review game that I can't talk about yet. And so that was it for me, where I had that great initial start with The Witcher and had enjoyed who I was. I did not feel like the combat was dated. I'm only, a few hours in, not nearly as far as any of you guys got. But I was having a great time with it. But then it was just like back to this point of like, it's really hard to keep my already shattered, train of thought, my interest for over 100 hours. But I think what's interesting about Booty Pop's question for both of us, and Jan, I want you obviously in here too, because you made no aspirations of playing The Witcher at all during this break.
Yep.
Do you ever see yourself beating start to finish a 100-hour game again? Of course I do. Like, I think that's part of the job. That's the thing, right? Where it's like, I'm working on a review game right now, and it is that thing of, I look at the game clock, I'm like, oh man, a lot of hours have already gone by. I don't, that's a whole different conversation of if I need to roll credits on this to talk about this game and yada yada blah blah blah. But like, if Horizon 3 is 100 hours, right, when it drops, I'm gonna go play through that and do that. I bet Last of Us Factions, if it really is gonna be like the Division. I'm gonna put well over 100 hours into that, right? Like,
what was the last like single player story based game you put 100 hours into? Because I'm sure with Avengers, I assume you put that much time in there.
I did,
right?
yeah, more
like,
than
I think
that.
it's easier.
Does that count? Because
no, that doesn't count.
Yeah,
that doesn't count. That's
why I asked like single player, because like I feel like with multiplayer online stuff, it's a lot easier because you don't even think about the time.
Of course,
right?
you're playing
I'm
friends,
just gonna log in. I'm gonna play with friends, and then the time passes that way. But like that commitment to a single player game, I think does make it a lot more difficult.
I think it's a game that is 100 hours. Not did you put 100 hours into it? Like I was thinking like this in terms of how long to beat time closer. What is the how long to beat on Witcher 3? Because I'm sure it's not 100 hours.
No, there's something like
it's like
it's probably like
60,
70.
So I feel like that's the real question. Because again, like I can put 100 hours into a game that I really like, but usually that game is still not even close to 100 hours.
I'll probably replay Persona 5 again at some point this year. So
yeah, that's my thing. I think the last game, how long to beat on Witcher 3 is like 51 hours, by the way. The last game I put that much time into that required that was probably Persona 5 Royal, I want to say. And that time, and that was a replay for me too. And so like, I feel like it has to be a game like that gets that amount of time for me.
Like Persona 6, whenever that comes out,
one.
like you and me, Bless, we'll dive deep into that. Yeah.
If you're talking about strictly just a single player thing, right? Because I think my WWE 2K22 time was over that last year, but I'm not even saying that. Before that, it would have been Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I think I'm scrolling through trophies, but I had well over 100 hours in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and that was strictly just what's Cassandra want to get into today? Who am I going to go murder with these poison knives? But I do think it's a rare occasion for me, for sure, because there is so much to play, so much to review, and so much happening at all points. But I do, even as a new dad, figure I will at some point do that.
You know what? I totally forgot that Elden Ring was a very long
See, I thought about that, but I was looking back at my time spent recently with it because I started a New Game Plus over the break, and I rolled credits at 69 hours. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I guess that is technically like if you're trying to do everything before you roll credits, that's probably easily 100 hours.
Yeah, like that's one of those weird ones where that game could probably take you anywhere from 40 to 100 hours, depending on just how sidetracked you get and all that. And so for me, my final timer on that game was I think around 100 hours even. But I beat the game at hour 80, I want to say. And so I'll put that up there in terms of a game I'll put a lot more time in. Yeah, whenever From Software puts out their next game, whether it's Armored Core or whatever comes after that, I can see myself putting another 100 hours into that.
Janet, do you have any qualms about 100-hour games?
Yeah. Like if they're too, I mean, I think it's, for me, it's always a little bit intimidating when a game is, I think, a notably long AAA experience, because usually the AAA games, I don't really know indie games that go quite that long. Just because it seems a little overwhelming. If it's a more straightforward open world, I feel like it's not that complicated to see like what the through line's going to be. Like something like Horizon, like that's a lot. God of War, it's a lot, but like, okay, I know what that time's going to be and I'm familiar with it.
Sure.
But stuff like those freaking RPGs and JRPGs, like more traditionally one genre like that, is kind of a lot. It's like me slowly going through Yakuza, right? It's like there's a reason I don't play those kind of games. They just take a very, very long time, and with that time I could play a lot more. But generally, I mean, I think I will play more games that have like huge, either that are large like in nature or that I just spend a lot of time in. Like I didn't even beat Breath of the Wild yet, and I had spent 80 hours in that. I'll probably restart and do that again and again, not a PlayStation game. But even like Horizon, like with the platinum, and then with my weirdo clear up the fog goal, that like I make my own fun in that game. I probably have like, I don't know, 40 or 50 hours in that game, and like I'll probably go back for more with the DLC. So
DLC, baby.
But again, like those are like less intimidating in scope. I will just say like my tastes don't quite align with stuff that has very huge scope. Like I haven't played like a lot of like JRPGs, for instance. But I'm definitely open to it. And like, yeah, I hope to get more into that because I feel like I wouldn't say a weak spot because again, it's a taste thing, but I want to explore it a little bit more and see what there's to offer in those kind of more intimidating hour counts.
What I find interesting is thinking about this year and the games that are coming out and the games that I could possibly put that amount of time into. The two games that immediately come to mind are the next Zelda game, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and the Tears. What was that again? Say again.
Tears for Fears of the Kingdom.
There you go. Thank you. That game comes to mind. And Greg, I think you were muted when this was happening, but like I started playing around with my FM radio that I have.
God fucking damn it! No, you've been playing with this thing for like literally the 30 minutes we were in the room before. I was definitely here for at least part
of the year. The FM
but
radio.
I don't think you were here for Tears for Fears though.
No, I wasn't. Playing. No, I was just here for whatever the rap was that came up, and we were like, "How old is this?"
yeah. Well, I think it was Eminem.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus you somehow found a radio that's trapped in time back in 2006.
Yeah.
And I have to crank it to power it.
He's a few dials away from like teleporting to
Here's my thing is that you crank it every time you go to play something. That's just because you have like you want to crank it, right? Like you don't need to crank it that much. How much do you get off of a crank?
Of a one crank?
No, not like I'm done for a second.
I mean, like half a second. Honestly, when I'm not cranking it, if I started to like use the flashlight and play the radio, I have like 3 minutes before it dies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not great on battery life.
Also, like indie game idea alert, some type of weird like mashup device where it's like part radio, part whatever.
I mean, this is just the Playdate. Somebody
like
should make the Playdate game. Yeah, I was gonna say there it is.
I also thought he was gonna say because he started his sentence off with "Whenever I'm not cranking it, I'm thinking about cranking it."
I caught myself going that direction and I stopped because I was like, oh no, people are gonna think I'm saying that. But then the other game that's not Tears of the Kingdom is Starfield. Both first party games for like other platforms, right? Like a big Xbox game, the big Switch game.
PlayStation.
And that's actually what I want to ask is like, does PlayStation have any 100-hour games in them, or is that just not PlayStation's thing? How much time are you gonna spend
in New York for Spider-Man?
Like 20 hours probably. I'm gonna platinum that game in 25 hours. I bet.
You're not gonna platinum in 25 hours.
You think it's gonna take longer than that to platinum Spider-Man?
Yeah. How long did it take to platinum Spider-Man 1?
Not that long.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I remember before it came out officially, Greg, you and I were kind of racing to see who could platinum it first, and it was like but you're talking hour wise, like
I'm opening up right now because I'm curious to see how many hours.
Maybe.
I'm going to how long did it beat?
I know it wasn't that long because I have the platinum, and like I'm not a platinum person, so it must have been a thing of like I got to the end of that game and
completionist is 34 hours according to howlongtobeat.com. So I was right, you were wrong.
I was wrong.
Suck it.
I shut my mouth.
Maybe we'll platinum some more. Or I'm sorry, maybe we'll put 100 hours into some games in 2023. Speaking of which, let's move on to topic of the show. I was extenuating it, Bear. There it is! Damn it! Stop! I'm
sorry.
I was like, does he have it from the home setup?
You know?
Does he have it?
Right when we got into it, OBS disconnected from YouTube, and I was freaking out about that, but trying to play it cool, but we got through it.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it is a brand new year. Congratulations, happy new year, and it's time to talk about everything coming to PlayStation in 2023. Of course, we are always talking about the games we're hyped for, but how many times can you just talk about Spider-Man 2, a game that'll take more than 25 hours to platinum?
I'm almost there on my list to see how many hours I put in it.
You know you can't trust that list. Don't worry about it. So we thought we would go through and play a little game of must play, might play, and pass. This, of course, is where I will go through and read every game coming to PlayStation in 2023. We can stop and discuss when we want to. But I am going off of, if you want to follow along, GameInformer.com, a great publication, GameInformer.com/2023, where they have listed every game coming. I have gone through and to the best of my ability, knocked out everything that's not a PlayStation game. I probably fucked up and knocked off a thing here or there. You just roll with the punches. And I'm sure your favorite indie didn't get listed or something. Maybe just calm down, everybody. But we're gonna go through and we're gonna do. I'm sorry. The Congress represents the great gentleman from Champaign, Illinois, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
I would like to eat my words. I put in 43 hours, according to PlayStation, into Marvel Spider-Man.
I appreciate that.
I apologize.
You're an honest man. You came through and did this. That means
I played Marvel's Iron Man VR for 2 hours. So
wow.
Yeah, what
you beat it really fast.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, 12 hours, and I still haven't beat that game somehow.
You don't need to. Again,
you're fine.
We're talking about this.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Marvel's Avengers, 25 hours apparently.
That's my man. That's my man right there. I appreciate that. So everybody, pack a lunch, strap in, and get ready. We will go through again. Janet, Blessing, stop me when you want to talk about something. You know, we'll do. I assume for a lot. You know how it is. A lot of these games we probably don't know much about. We're not even clicking through them. We're just going off titles. We're just listing them and doing it, and we'll see from there. All right.
So the idea is you're gonna read through, and then all the ones we don't interrupt you for are pass, and then when we do interrupt you, it's a must play or might play.
That sounds good. Yeah, that's how we'll do it. Yeah. If I read the title and nobody says anything, assume it's a pass, ladies and gentlemen. However, I would urge you, ladies and gentlemen, of course, there are a gajillion indies, a gajillion video games. We love video games here. We're not passing on a game necessarily because we think it's dog shit. We're just passing on it because maybe we don't know anything about it. So if we pass on a game and you're like, wait a second, that game's awesome, you guys would love it, please, in the chat, shout it out, of course, but then hit us up on Twitter individually. Be like, yo, you said no to this, but you might love that because X, Y, and Z. Janet, fantastic Cult of the Lamb sticker on that water bottle. Just wanted to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Strap in, pack a lunch. Let's go. Children of Silent Town, Vengeful Guardian, Moonrider, Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot, One Piece Odyssey.
Yo, just really quick.
There it is. I knew it. What is that, Barrett? One Piece, is that a must play, a might play?
That's I think for both me and Mikey, that's going to be a must play there. Just purely because we love One Piece despite it being a show that never ends. But it just also looks just like a really fun turn-based RPG that I feel like, even though Blessing, like, I don't know if you've ever watched One Piece, like, it just seems like kind of up our alley, like, gameplay wise, which I'm fully ready to kind of get lost in, even though I'm not up to date on who this full crew is and all that stuff. I'm ready to jump into this.
So
world.
Here's my question for you about it. I obviously am not a One Piece fan, but I remember reviewing a lot of Naruto games and things to that extent. You know, classic. The Afro Samurai game. Yeah. Stick with me. I'm going somewhere with this, I swear.
Okay.
Those, of course, were like all right games and whatever, but like, are you expecting this game to be good, or are you just excited because you're a One Piece fan?
It's a little bit of both. Like what they've shown off here, and like their kind of, I don't know, just like the full on, let's have an almost like full on open world RPG. Like it feels kind of the vibes of Kakarot, right? I know Kakarot was more of a retelling of some parts of the anime. Bless, correct me if I'm wrong.
All the Z saga.
Yeah, and so I think this is just like a new original story. But like, yeah, I'm ready to get like lost and do a full on like kind of RPG with these characters. Where like the kind of era that you're talking about, Greg, is like 3D fighters and stuff. And there's only so much like kind of fuel that you can burn with that for myself personally. So
like a lot of those are the arena fighters that are the Demon Slayer, Kimetsu.
Zoro here and getting into fights, like I'm all down for that. Hell yeah.
Yeah, there was a similar thing with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Like I didn't interrupt you for that one because that's one that already came out, but this one is the current gen port of it. But that's one where I'm like, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, Kakarot I think is a pretty fun game. It's not like there are plenty of options for Dragon Ball Z, and so like if you're a fighting game person, I would definitely say Dragon Ball FighterZ is my #1 recommendation. But if you're somebody who's played that or you played other Dragon Ball Z games and you're just looking for something else that'll help fill that void, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot for PS5 I think is worth checking out at least.
Okay, moving on. Gigantosaurus Dino Kart, A Space for the Unbound, Colossal Cave, Persona 4 Golden, Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3 Portable.
Might play.
That's a might play for you?
That's a might play for me. That Persona 4 Golden, one of my favorite games ever. But I don't need to replay it. Like
exactly. That's where I'm at too. Obviously, I love Persona 4, but I don't need to replay it.
Yeah, Persona 3 on the other hand, I've not played through, and so I think this is going to be the time where I finally give it the shot and actually get into it. Because Persona 4 and Persona 5, I fucking love both of those games, and at this point, I would say Persona is probably one of my favorite series, and like. I would love to round it out by playing Persona 3. Persona 3
Sure.
Portable is an interesting version because Barry can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the one where you don't really run around in the environment, walk around the environment. It's more a visual novel. And then you have the dungeons. Is that right, Barrett?
Yeah, so like when you're out doing like the social stuff and hanging out, it's a little bit more so kind of visual novel, kind of like almost like point to areas to go around and stuff like that. And then you can kind of like fully go around the dungeons and stuff. But with the trade-off there, from what I hear from Andrew Goldfarb is that you get the alternate
Alternate story with the female character.
Yeah, the female
they have her from
protagonist.
Fez, yeah.
Yeah, and so and
Really
I
good
hear
guy
really
reviewed
good
that at IGN once.
Oh yeah. I hear really good things about that path and stuff like that. But yeah, you're not going to get the full control as you would in like Persona 3 FES or Persona 4 Golden or Persona 5. So yeah, it's like a weird, like there's no like perfect version of Persona 3. So yeah, I still highly recommend checking it out though. Bless.
Next up is Monster Hunter Rise.
Might
And I
play.
will tell you, this is a might play for me too.
I'm
All
ready,
That
I'm
might
ready to
play for
lie
me
to
as well.
myself in 2023 again. Like I mean, I feel like it's so cursed for all of us to be like, what if we all got into this thing? Wouldn't that be a
Let's
hoot
do
and a
it,
half?
Janet.
But I don't know that we're going to. But I want to believe in 2023, and it seems like, you know, the sauce of this coming to PlayStation, it's like maybe that'll like be enough to kind of link up with enough people to like want to figure it out. Because again, like obviously this is a very critically acclaimed franchise, but
Entry. People really did
Yes.
like this on Switch and
I
when it was
did
on Steam Deck.
I did start it on Switch, but like
Okay.
again, it being having other PS5 people who don't know what they're doing. Like I don't want to learn from someone. I want to learn from someone who also doesn't know anything. You know what I mean?
Gotcha,
I want to
gotcha,
figure it
gotcha.
out together and try to like, you know, get it together. So I feel like maybe that could happen on PS5. And that could
See,
be
for
fun.
me,
That
it's
could be
that
my
thing-
new thing, my new 100-hour game. We found it. There you go.
Monster Hunter's always that interesting one for me where I reviewed a couple of them at IGN way back in the day on PSP, which gave me the basics. And then every so often I would check in on it and do something with it. But World is the one that I played and I was like, oh, I totally love this. I totally get it. They had made a bunch of the improvements that I'd wanted from the PSP version. And so I remember when Rise came to Switch, the whole thing was like, oh, well, I still feel hungover from World. Why would I want a different version of this? Why would I want something that's, you know, not as technically impressive or all the things? Why don't I just go back to World? Because I never did that expansion they put out. And so now enough time has passed where I'm in that weird spot right now where it's like, you know what? I'm in between games. I don't have a big thing on my plate. Like, why? I'd love to kick the tires on this and hope that it clicks with me and you know, see how it plays on PlayStation, how it looks on PlayStation, get some trophies. It's a might play for me too.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like the action really looks really fun. Monster Hunter has been a series that people have told me that I would really get into, but I've just never had it's never been at the right place at the right time for me. Where oh man, Monster Hunter comes out. Oh man, I got the oh man, let's do it. Like it's never really lined up, and I think this release of Monster Hunter Rise, especially with both Greg and Janet being into it, might get me into it as well if you play together. So might
Excellent.
play.
All right, well then, let's get. We'll all get some codes. We'll all go hunt. Next, now this is an interesting one. Forspoken.
Must play, but I'm not that excited about it.
Okay. See, and this is where I think it's interesting of how do we define must play or might play? I am going to play Forspoken.
Yes.
I am turning on Forspoken for sure. I need to see what this game's all about. But are we saying is a must play? I can't wait to play it because then I would call it a might play. Maybe I might finish.
I must play it for content.
I must play for content. I'm at a might play to pass. After playing the demo, I don't know if I want to play Forspoken. If I'm
See,
being
that's
honest.
the hack. Don't play the demo, man. Like, just go straight. That's the thing. I didn't want to. Well, in general, for demos of games that I kind of know I'm going to play, I'm like, I want to check this out for myself in its full regular context. So I skipped the demo. But the demo, it ain't coming off hot from the demo, from what I heard.
My question is, why are you guys going to play it? Is it the fact that it's a AAA game, or is it the fact that there are more
How
eyes on it,
dare you.
or because
A
like
little
there's plenty
bit.
of games here that we just didn't say anything for, but Forspoken.
I mean, well, go ahead, Greg.
Okay, my thing about it is that I like the premise of it. You know, for me that like I'm not a big fantasy world person. I'm not like, you know, it's funny to come off Monster Hunter and look at this as you're brawling with all these monsters, right? The Monster Hunter is great usually because it's not story based, so it's just like, yeah, cool, you're the hunter, go kill all these things, great, and you're playing with your friends, yay. Whereas like, and that gets me around having to be the weird story of it. This one being a character out of time, being pulled in this world, kind of having that Evil Dead Army of Darkness kind of shit happening. Like there's something about that I think I like and I can connect with, and I'm interested to see what that world is. I don't know if it's going to take me beyond the opening cutscene and a few fights and a few levels, but I know I want to try it at the very least.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. I think I wouldn't say I've cooled on it over time, but I haven't been more sold on it. So I'm kind of like starting to be like, I'm not like, I'm not super confident in it being like a standout game for the year.
Honestly,
but it's the first big one that's like caught my eye that I've been following for a bit. And I'm like, I want to see how this shakes out. Do they execute? And if they don't execute, why aren't they? Like, I'm fascinated by it and I want to see it through.
For me, it reminds me a lot of, and this isn't a ringing endorsement, but it's filling that Ghostwire Tokyo space.
Okay.
Where I'm like, I gotta know. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like a car accident on the highway. I don't know. What's this delay been all about? I gotta see what this thing's about. I gotta know what's going on with it. I'm hopeful I'll really like it, but it might just be that, yeah, it doesn't connect with me gameplay wise.
I'm also a big fan of like sort of having these like telekinetic abilities like in games in general. I've noticed that's something I really gravitate towards, and this offers that. So I feel like so many things can come from Forspoken. Like it could really just be a great game. I don't necessarily feel super confident in that right at this point, but like it could. Or it could be sort of like a flop, or it could be in that middle ground where it's not critically amazing, but maybe I have fun with it either way. So I just want to kind of take a look at it to see what came out how did it actually like pan out. And I do know, like, as people are mentioning it like in the chat, that part of a big complaint I had from the demo, which like obviously we don't want to spend too much time on this, but Bless, I'm curious if you can speak to this. One beef people had with the demo was that they threw a lot at you at the time. And I wonder, that's why I'm like, let me just get it all in context the way they would tutorialize it formally outside of the context of a demo that isn't just the opening of the game. But I don't know, was that your beef with it, or was it just like the overall feel?
No, I mean, that was one of multiple beefs. You know, I the way they kind of throw you into it, I don't think does justice to what the buildup of the abilities probably are, because it is, here's a bunch of your abilities, here's a tutorial mode that will let you like throw shit around and practice moves, and then now here's like part of the open world that you can run around in and hang out in and fight people in. But like that was one of the smaller beefs I had with it. I think more so my beef was just that hanging out in the world, the feel of exploring the world and the feel of the combat just didn't feel great to me. It did feel like a lot of button mashing, a lot of like non-responsive combat. You know, like when you hit something and it's like, oh, you're not giving me the crunch. You're not giving me like the responsiveness that I want. It's not satisfying to fight things in the game. I kind of felt that a little bit. And then the dialogue just was not hitting for me. It's the same thing of when that one trailer went out on YouTube that had some of the corny
talking
dialogue.
to your ring or whatever it was.
Yeah, or talking to your cuff.
So
and people
you're
are like,
saying I'm in a magical world full of dragons and I get to fight them? This is going to be a hell of a Tuesday.
In real time, it felt a lot like that.
And I'm riding through it, all right? Like,
it felt a lot like that, and she was talking a lot. And so it was that thing of every few seconds she would say something, and I'm like, I didn't like how that presented. Like I didn't like the writing of it or even the performance of it. And so I have quite a few of those qualms, and I think the Ghostwire Tokyo comparison could be an accurate one for me as well. That was one thing I was thinking of a game that comes out that might work for some people, and then for maybe other people it just doesn't work. I think Close to Protocol might be another example of that, where it is, here's something that exists in this specific space, right, where there's AA or AA to AAA, like in that weird could be for you, could not be for you space.
Sure.
Close to Protocol was one that worked so well for me. Ghostwire Tokyo, when I saw it, or when I like heard people talk about it, and then I looked at gameplay, I was like, this is not for me. And already looking at Ghostwire, or looking at Forspoken gameplay and playing a little bit of it, I'm already like, I don't think I'll play this. Yeah, like I'm good, but it might speak to other people if they're more into that genre of game. So I think it exists in that space. And if you guys like, if I hear from more people that Forspoken is great or fantastic, then I think that'll move up the list of, okay, maybe I'll try this. But if it falls flat, then I don't think I boot it up.
Risen, Dead Space remake, which I don't think we need. Yeah, I was gonna say this is a must play across the board, right? Like I don't think there's one much. I mean, it's Dead Space. Me and Mike went and did the preview of it. It played great. Callisto only whet my appetite to go back to the Ishimura and get in there and play it. And like, I can't wait for that one. That's one where I check the inbox. Hope I get codes for it. Season, A Letter to the Future.
Must play.
This is. Sorry, go
on. This is one where, similar to Forspoken, I think there's question marks to it, but it speaks to me more just in terms of its style and what it's bringing to the table. That even if it doesn't hit, I still want to try it out to see what works and what doesn't work about it, because it looks really cool.
It looks awesome. It's got a really great style. I'm very interested in it, right? Like getting these sounds of the end of the world kind of thing. And Janet, I assume you're right there with me with the narrative.
Yeah, like it being sort of this nicely artistically stylized, almost has like a painting like quality to I think like the environment, but also like a starkness in the like shadowing on the characters. Like there's something really magical looking about the game, and it's kind of gives me that like cozy, like slow paced vibe, right? We're like taking our camera out, we have our little journal, we're like riding our bike, our pens are organized just so. Like it feels so quaint, while also creating a curiosity for the mundane, which I think there's something like really striking about so many of those elements they're pulling in. I think for me, the hesitancy on this one has started to sit in now that like there's been like delays. We heard about like that article about issues at the studio.
Yeah,
and again, at the end of the day, like that doesn't mean the game is not going to be good, but like those things give me a little bit of pause. But at the same time, like this has been that indie game that I've been following for so long. We've seen it at so many events, and I'm like, yeah, I want to check this out, and hopefully it ends up hitting.
Yeah, this is from Scavenger Studio, who also did Darwin Project, and that was one that came to PlayStation.
You didn't love it, but you appreciated that game.
Yeah, and I honestly I really enjoyed it. That was year one of PS Love You, where it came to PlayStation, and I played quite a bit of that game, and I was like, yo, this is awesome. And this is their follow up to that, which was a very different game, but also, you know, to your point, Janet, right? It looks relaxing. It looks chill. I like the style of it. It reminds me a little bit of like Studio Ghibli in terms of their style, but like even with some more saturation in the colors, I really like how it looks. But then yeah, you look into the studio drama that was reported like 2 years ago, or it was reported like after one of their original debut trailers for the game, and that worried me a little bit. But it's still one that once it comes out, I'm gonna try it just to see how it is. And yeah, like I'm excited. I think this is for sure a must play for me.
Okay, agreed. SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake.
Yeah,
might play.
Let's go.
Might play.
I might mess around and check it out. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? A game that I don't think is going to be good isn't good. That's not a big deal to me. Why not? And it's like SpongeBob. Who doesn't like SpongeBob? Because what if it was good? And again, I'm also like kind of not from a critical standpoint, but from just being a fan standpoint, I'm kind of easy to satisfy with like platformers and moving around space. Like I can play like pretty mid platformers and be fine. So I feel like I want to see what this is like. Why not? Also, I know other people that are excited for it. So I'm like, maybe there's like, I kind of want to just like I want to see what's up. You know what I mean? But also it's not a must play because I don't necessarily think it's gonna be good. And like, if I didn't make time for this, I really wouldn't care that deep. But I'm like, why not boot it up? Maybe it's crazy that fun. You don't know.
It's crazy that this game exists. It's a successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is a game that speaks to a very specific kind of person. And that person is Barry Courtney.
Which I did play Rehydrated, and I thought that game was really, really not good. So I am hoping that this is better than that. But I know.
This really seems like them following up on that and the recent love when they did the Rehydrated thing for Battle for Bikini Bottom. And you know, maybe because, you know, Rehydrated was a very faithful kind of remaster remake or something like that. Like maybe because this is a game being developed for 2023, maybe there will be some more like interesting, more modern design tactics for it to get you a little bit more engaged. And this is a must play. And like if it's like I understanding it's gonna be possibly my 3 out of 5 that I love, like a 5 out of 5 this year, much like Blessing with Sonic Frontiers, where it's like if this is even just a solid follow up to Battle for Bikini Bottom, I could see it making my top 10 list at the game of the year.
Next is Chef Life, a restaurant simulator. Deliver Us Mars. Hogwarts Legacy.
I'm like all over the place with this one. I have no idea if I'm gonna play this, how much I'm gonna play this, if I'm gonna play it and not talk about it, if I'm just gonna stay away from it. It's that weird one where I'm not like a big Harry Potter person, you know, like I watched the movies as a kid, like I'm sure most of us did, and have the nostalgia and appreciation for it. But like with all the J.K. Rowling stuff,
of course,
of like the last few years, it's one that at the same time I don't want to touch because of J.K. Rowling, but at the same time I'm like, damn. Remember the name of the studio is Avalanche. Yeah. Avalanche is doing work on the game. It looks quality, like it looks like a good game.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so I still don't know where I sit on this one yet.
I think it's a might play. you know what I mean? I think it's part of the job is playing it too and being like, is it good, bad, or the other? Like we review games. That's what we do. I think if people do play it and we do stuff on it, I think probably wear Trans Lives Matter shirts, right? And like really probably run a donation thing to do that. Like, you know, it's like when Gary eats a Chick-fil-A and then does a donation, right, to an LGBTQ organization. Like it's that kind of thing where it totally fucking sucks. And it's, you know, we don't need to beat a dead horse. We've talked about this a million times on Games Daily, right? Of just like the overwhelming majority of people who work on this game aren't assholes probably, right? Like we know that one guy was and he got booted out, but it's like, what do you do with that? How do you, what do you, and it's like, well, she had nothing to do with the game, but she owns the property, so the money's going to, and so it's just, and it's like, all right, well, I don't, like, what does that do for a fan? What does that do for some people who critique games and play games and talk about it? It's a huge ball of wax.
Yeah, and it's also like even this trailer, I remember when this came out, of like just casual like student on student torture in this game as well, as along with like the main plot, I think, is helping stop a goblin uprising, which is also like some weird like undertone, like anti-worker sentiment there, and it's just like, I don't know, man. And yeah, and I've just kind of been disillusioned with Harry Potter for the last couple of years anyway, so yeah, probably not gonna play it.
Wanted Dead. Theorhythm Final Bar Line. Powered through that one. Tales of Symphonia Remastered. Wild Hearts. Atomic Heart. What? Sorry, we're going back to Wild Hearts?
Because Wild Hearts, that's like not Monster Hunter, right? That's the one?
Yeah, it's the not Monster Hunter Monster Hunter.
Must play because it looks like an easier Monster Hunter, and that sounds about my speed. You know, it's like it has those elements of like, you know, fighting a big beast, but it also has like and again, not that Fortnite invented it, but the kind of like impromptu base building or like structure building to kind of create scaffolding or you know, create different environments,
like create tools that you can like use to like fly around and shit.
Yeah, and also the previews were pretty positive on this, and unsurprisingly, it was previewed by like mostly kind of Monster Hunter people. Like, I think, if I'm not misremembering, like Casey DeFreitas over at IGN like did the preview for it. I think maybe she didn't. I don't know. Whoever at IGN did the preview mentioned like, oh, like yeah, this is like, I read through it and it seemed like overall positive, and obviously at the end of the day, like a preview is not a review for a reason, but I felt like generally people were like, you know, they may have something here, so I want to check it out. Okay, great. I mean, as it should be. Casey's great at that kind of stuff, but yeah, I'm interested.
It seems like a legitimate Monster Hunter competitor, right? In the way that it's being developed by Koei Tecmo, it's being published by EA. The only thing this game has going against it is the fact that it's coming out the month after Monster Hunter Rise, and then also like a month before.
It's like,
yeah, Rise isn't going to get the juice though, because it's an old game. Old game is old. You like.
We'll see, because this is like, because Rise was like a Switch game, right? And then it came to Steam.
I mean, now it's coming to PlayStation. For like PlayStation fans specifically, but I feel like that's not enough for like if you were really into Monster Hunter, like I get what you mean, and that is it would be better if it came out before it. I will say that. But
I want to read Casey's lead here for her preview from October on Wild Hearts. I've known there are other monster hunting games out there besides the quintessential Monster Hunter, but none have really grabbed my attention and hooked me quite the same. Perhaps until now. More needs to be seen before I can say for sure, but after playing more than 10 hours of Wild Hearts, I can say this just might be the one. So far, Wild Hearts looks like an exciting mashup of challenging hunting, crafting, beautiful semi-open world environments, and snappy building mechanics that makes it stand on its own four legs. Keep your eyes peeled on that.
I mean, Casey, it sounds like Casey needs to try out Freedom Wars.
Don't get me started. You know what? Don't get me started about the great device that is the PlayStation Vita and the fantastic games that were ignored on it.
One thing that also was amusing to me, and I think this was also in her preview, is the possibility of like creating like intriguing and or amusing scenarios through like that structure kind of mechanic of like you can kind of pull off somewhat wonky stuff like through that creativity that it offers you. So yeah, I mean, I'm at least gonna give it a go. Like it is definitely outside of my general like wheelhouse of taste, but like I'm very intrigued by this. It is one that I plan to dig into when it comes out.
Atomic Heart.
Must play.
Okay.
Cannot wait for Atomic Heart.
Talk to me about it. This is the one I know the name. I don't remember which one it is.
It is a first-person shooter. I believe it's being developed by Focus. Is it Focus Entertainment or Focus Home? But yeah, it's a first-person shooter. It gives me vibes of something like Wolfenstein, or even maybe Wolfenstein mixed with a BioShock game, just in terms of there's a lot of interesting like a
Like
lot of interesting
Fallout-y,
setting
too.
stuff. A little Fallout-y, right? Where like setting wise, do you remember what like decade or year this takes place in? Because it gives me like World War II two vibes, or
Well,
maybe
that's why I feel like that
future
Fallout
type
where
shit.
they're like, what if we like it's like future, but it's kind of past and it's like kind of Americana. Like that's the vibes it's invoking, which are like very appealing. Like I don't know, source
Yeah,
material to pull from.
the setting and environment seems really interesting. The weapons seem different and interesting. If you're watching the trailer right now in the video version, you're seeing the player use dual wielding a gun in the right hand, but then also using abilities with the left hand and stuff that looks like ice abilities or like weird morphing abilities. I don't know, but it looks really interesting.
Really quick, it from the website, Atomic Heart is an adventure role-playing action game with a closed world. Which takes place in an alternative Soviet Union of 1955.
There you go. Closed worlds is really interesting. That's their way of saying it's linear.
I had to pause it when I read that because I was like, y'all, we could just use the terms we already have. Like some of y'all really trying to get
it can only be open world, open zone, semi-open world, and what was this recent one?
It's
Open
giving
zone.
it has a bit of an Okie afterbirth. Like let's just use the, you know what I mean? Like come on, y'all.
But yeah, I feel like for great first-person shooter campaigns are becoming more and more few and far between. I don't know why we don't see way more of them, but like I've been missing ever since the year we got. What was it, Wolfenstein 2? Like I've been wanting another game of that ilk, right? Because like it is special when we get the Titanfall 2s, the Wolfensteins, the Dooms of the world, and not many developers are just putting out purely those. And Atomic Heart looks like it could be a really good first-person shooter campaign, and so yeah, I'm hoping it's another one of those that we look at as like, oh hell yeah, like we're back. This feels great.
We're trying to go through every game on this list, and we're not even out of February yet. But here's a chance for me to tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny. Over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you could be watching us record this show live, just like my dog Nick96 is, and so is Yo Call Me Rob. Of course, over there, you'd also get the show ad-free. You can watch all the other Kinda Funny podcasts live as we record them ad-free. And of course, you could get 38 bonus episodes of content only available on patreon.com/kindafunny. But guess what, Jack? You're not on patreon.com/kindafunny. So here's a word from our sponsor.
Shout out to Honey for sponsoring this episode. Honey's the easy way to save when shopping on your iPhone or computer. Thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past, and we all know there's nothing better than the feeling of saving money. Honey's the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Here's how it works. Imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite websites. When you check out, the Honey button appears, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. Wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons it can find for that site, and if Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch the prices drop. We here at Kinda Funny have been using Honey for years, and it has literally saved us thousands of dollars on tech, costumes, food, you name it. Honestly, I just love how easy it is to just set and forget and save. Honey doesn't just work on desktops, it works on your iPhone too. Just activate it on Safari on your phone and save on the go. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this show. Get PayPal Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kindafunny. That's joinhoney.com/kindafunny.
Next up, Like a Dragon Ishin.
Might play.
Must play. Oh, for me, it's a must play. I thought this looked so cool. As somebody who is, like a lapsed Yakuza fan, the shift in where they're at, the vibe they set up in the trailer, the gun, the sword. I was like, oh yeah, I want to play this real, real bad. Why is it just a might for you, Bless?
Just because every single time I try to get into the Yakuza game, I play exactly 7 hours, and then something pulls me away from it. And it's happened to me with every single Yakuza game that I've tried. But like, I think it looks really cool for the reasons you mentioned, and it's one that I want to try out. But it's also the thing of it is coming out in a busy February, because yeah, you're talking about it coming out the same day as Atomic Heart, a few days after Wild Hearts, right? Like a week after Hogwarts Legacy, and then you're gonna get some other games that are coming out in February as well. And I think it's gonna be a busy time. If it was a free time, for sure, I would give it a shot. But right now, it's a we'll see situation.
Then of course, yeah, like you're saying, that is coming out February 21st. February 22nd, PlayStation VR 2 hits. We have a number of games here. After the fall, Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Must play, but also it's a might play for the VR aspect. Like
Yeah,
I still haven't figured out what I'm doing for that. Like I don't want to spend all this money, but I want to make more content on PlayStation, and I like Horizon. I want to pick the
Hell or high water, I'm must playing Horizon Call of the Mountain at launch. Don't worry about that. So
It's the funny thing of the PSVR 2 for me is a might play, but Horizon Call of the Mountain is a must play if I get PSVR 2. So it looks I weirdly enough over the break I was craving some Horizon, and maybe it was oh, you know what it was? I saw
Step
a clip.
into my whim.
I saw a clip. It wasn't Sun High Legend. It was like one of the other the people that put out great clips out there. And it was a great Horizon Forbidden West clip of Aloy fighting a bunch of different machines, and it was in slow motion. And I was like, damn, I forgot how cool this game was. Like Horizon Forbidden West has some really good enemy design. And so I'm kind of craving. I'm kind of antsy to get back into that world. So I think Call of the Mountain might be that for me.
Resident Evil Village on PlayStation VR 2.
Hell no, I don't want to be scared.
Resident Evil Village is not that great of a game, and I doubt VR is going to save it. I said it. Blood Bowl 3. Altair
That sounds so gross. I'm sorry.
Blood Bowl 3. I got a Blood Bowl 3. Altair Arizia 3. Alchemist of the End and the Secret Key. Clive and Wrench. Kerbal Space Program 2. Octopath Traveler 2.
Might play. Again, meaty game. I don't know if I want to commit. And I feel like we all know these games are good. Do you need me to go in there just to tell you that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I want to do the work. It's giving, like, Octopath Traveler 2 is such a, for, like, Min-Max Awards, we have, like, a game that we all agree is good that we, like, didn't play. That sounds like my Octopath Traveler 2. Like, okay, there we go.
I didn't get that far in Octopath Traveler 1, but I did love Live Alive. And so I as I'm looking at footage right now of Octopath Traveler 2, I'm like, ooh,
it's so beautiful.
It would be great to get back into one of these games, but I don't know yet. Like it's again, February is a busy month, and so
here's my silver lining for why I loved Octopath Traveler. I never rolled credits in it, but I forget. I think I want to say it was 35 or 40 hours. You could dig out the old podcast and see how far I got into it or whatever. And I think what might save Octopath Traveler 2, although it will curse it for this podcast, is that that's right around the time of DICE. So I'd probably be traveling and I'd probably have my Switch. And so if it was that I had a code or I was playing Octopath Traveler on that trip, that would be my time to get into it and get re-addicted to it. But it's still a might play of like, if that doesn't line up, then that's not going to be the case for me playing it really, but we'll see. Destiny 2 Lightfall.
Might play.
Yeah. I put it as a might play as well. Obviously we're not the biggest Destiny people, but I was going through planning out PS I Love You for the rest of the for the first quarter of the year, and I hit you guys up. I'm like, what if we all just got into it? And Janet was just like, no, I'm good. They're like, oh, no, I'm not gonna do that.
It looks really good. It looks like the most unique Destiny 2 thing so far. That trailer looks like it's out of a different game.
Sure.
And I really enjoy a lot of what they're doing visually and like in terms of where they're taking the setting. And so I would like to get into it. It's just that thing of Destiny is always such a big commitment when you do want to get into Destiny. But getting in on the ground floor of a big new expansion might be the way to do it.
Everybody's sitting there playing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd like to kick the tires with you. Sadly, Janet won't be there. Scars Above. Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
Must play, baby. I can't wait.
That's a must play for you. Okay.
Oh yeah, dude. The demo was so fucking good. Like I still think about playing about that demo that I played back in September, October. Of course, if you're not familiar with Wolong Fallen Dynasty, it's another game from Koei Tecmo. It is Team Ninja, the team that does the Neo games, and it seems like it's carrying forward that Neo legacy. And so it's a very difficult action game where it is like you're gonna die a lot, you're fighting really cool looking bosses, you are being careful with every step, and also like you have a large assortment of weapons to switch between and use. Funny enough, playing the demo for Wolong Fallen Dynasty is what got me to start Neo 2, and I hit a point during break where I was like, this game is too hard. Like, say what you will about From Software games, the Neo games are kicking my ass in difficulty. I'll power through Sekiro, I'll power through Bloodborne, Elden Ring, whatever. Playing Neo 2 and like dying for hours straight in the same stretch of like trying to get to the next checkpoint. Oh man, that game was kicking my ass. But also just made me think back to the demo and how much fun and how much of an easier time I had with the Wolong Fallen Dynasty demo than the beginning of Neo 2. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to put this down. I'm just going to wait and play Wolong Fallen Dynasty because I enjoyed that one so much.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I know Andy enjoyed it a lot too, so there you go.
Also, I thought this was a different game. I'm not playing this. I got mixed up on what it was. I was like, as soon as I saw the gameplay go, I was like, this is not, I am in the wrong store. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to walk back.
Did you think this is the Wukong game?
No, I thought it was. Well, maybe I don't know the name of the game I'm thinking of now. There's that game that it's not Ghost, and people are like, oh, it's just like I don't know, it's just not Ghost, and it's like, oh, it'll probably still be pretty good. I forgot what game that is. What the name of it? If you know the,
I think I know the game you're talking about, but I forget what it's called.
Everyone does.
Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Yeah, no, I if it was a new Fatal Frame, like from the ground up, I'd be like, oh, okay, sure. But it's like it's the Wii thing. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't play the Wii version of it either, so even though it's a remake, I'm sure you know what I mean. Blah blah. Skull and Bones.
Okay, is this multiplayer only? Like I it's like opening a whole can of worms. But
What is Skull and
I'm
Bones?
gonna say might play. I'm gonna say might play. Again, this is like the streets will at least look at it, and I generally like to check out stuff that I feel like has a conversation happening around it, but at the same time, like I don't know if this thing's coming out.
Nah, I'm gonna let
I don't know
y'all
if it's
fall
my
on that
thing.
sword for Skull and Bones and try that out, and I'll just listen from the sidelines and be like, "Yep,
Just
that was
playing
the game."
Cosmic Shake over there while
Listen,
suckers
you already
hang
know
out
I
in
don't mess
Skull
with
and Bones
pirates.
land.
I don't believe in pirates, so I'm not playing it.
Yeah, very anti-pirate over here. Bless
Very
you.
anti-pirate
Yeah.
over here.
What's on your Steam Deck?
Yeah. You wouldn't steal a
Um,
car?
Wait, my Steam Deck?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's Michael's Steam Deck. I don't know.
Very
what he's
legal
talking about. I've
games.
never seen that before.
Strictly, incredibly legal. Yeah, it's like the lightest of might play, where it's like, yeah, if it drops and people are like, it's great, sure. Like Black Flag, I loved. Like I had a great time with it, but like this game's been gestating forever. It seems like the most generic pirate game, and I'm just like, I don't know about all that action. So, meh. I'm thinking it's with Janet of just like, if it's this, sure, okay, whatever. DC's Justice League Cosmic Chaos. This is, again, for Greg Miller, DC superfan, the lightest of might play. If you haven't looked at it, I hadn't heard of it. It just got announced fairly recently. It's obviously a kid's game based on the Justice League cartoon they do, but it looks cute enough of just being the superheroes, and it's drop in, drop out co-op. It's got this style that I think is reminiscent of a lot of like the different cartoons. And it's just run around, beat the shit out of things. It's like, okay, maybe.
You know what?
It looks really cute.
As Bear's showing the footage now, I'm like, oh, actually, this looks like it could be fun. I really like the art style of it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, if it's not garbage and I'm not drowning in another game, which I probably will be, I could see me
cute.
jumping in and playing a night.
This is definitely one where you gotta get the code, but you gotta hold on to it to where Ben's old enough to play games and do co-op with him.
Well, that's like Scribblenauts, the one they did the DC Scribblenauts. Remember that one?
No.
You remember Scribblenauts?
I do remember Scribblenauts, yeah.
They eventually, this will blow your mind. They did a Scribblenauts standalone game that was DC Comics. You want to talk about a game that nobody played?
Also, another cosmic game. This Cosmic Shake, Cosmic Chaos. We have Wild Hearts and Atomic Heart. Like, I don't know.
It's the year of Cosmics and Hearts.
We're getting into some, I don't know. Yeah.
The Legend of Heroes, Trails to Azure. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Must play.
I can't fucking wait for that. Are you kidding?
It's crazy how just the Game Awards trailer totally not 180 because I was always excited for this, but just completely ignited the fire in me to want to play more Jedi. Because I played Jedi Fallen Order, I really loved it, but I've not been craving this game. But after that last trailer, I'm like, yo, I gotta play this right now, expeditiously. This looks incredible.
Yeah, I thought the trailer was fantastic. It looks like such a step up from a game we already loved, and I enjoyed so much the last time around. I can't wait.
Is "we" the right word? I don't know.
Yeah, it was KindaFunny's game of the year. So
yeah, like at the time,
yeah.
So you don't
even know what games you're talking about, all right? You're over here confused about what we're talking about, saying you're gonna play
Wolong.
Oh yeah, the Rise of Ronin is the game, by the way.
I'm just saying, when are we doing the 2019 recount? You know what I mean?
Oh my god, you guys are just the worst little. You know what
Jay's
I mean?
version, yeah, like I'm excited about this, but I also wasn't. I played Fallen Order just into like a broken circumstance, so I want to try it again when I'm not on like very old hardware. It's not chugging at like 2 frames, which I can because it's coming to PlayStation Plus.
I think everybody played Fallen Order in a broken circumstance.
Yeah,
that game was broken at launch.
Yeah, it was not great at launch, but it's
but
right now.
I was also on like an old
PS
Xbox. I was on like an Xbox One or something, a base Xbox One. So anyway, we'll try again.
Resident Evil 4 remake.
Oh, must play.
Yeah, for me, it's a might play
too.
Like Resident Evil 4 is a game I have struggled through in the past. I'm just like, all right. But I Resident Evil 2 Remake I like so much I couldn't even play the original Resident Evil 2 because I hated the controls so much. So
see,
hopefully this rocks.
For the exact reason you just gave is why I'm excited for it, because I'm the same with RE4, where I've kind of struggled through it in the past, and RE2 Remake I love so much that I'm hoping RE2 Remake does for Resident Evil 4 what Remake did for RE2 for me.
Crime Boss, Rockay City.
Must play, baby.
You know what? Must play. I'm with
I
that.
was gonna say, man, like it's gonna be a train wreck. It is a must play. With
I can't wait for
Like, is that doofy game with all the voice actors in
Yeah.
it? Like, I
The
mean,
Rail
every game
Chuck Norris
has,
in
the
it.
voice acting has a lot of voice actors in it. Okay.
Like that's like a burning, like that's a crashing car on fire that I want to be in the front seat to watch, you know?
It's one of those, I cannot fathom that game actually comes out March 28th. There's no possible way. Knowing nothing about it other than this trailer and the cast. I'm like, this seems like such a weird cash grabby, throw a bunch of people together. Like, can this really come out that quickly after announced? I'll be shocked, but look at Michael Madsen out there fucking killing it. You know what I mean? Look at this.
As a character named Travis Barker. Like, come on.
I gotta see what this is about. I gotta see what this is about, Bless. I gotta play it.
I'm holding out a little bit of hope that it'll be fun.
I hope it's the surprise of the year.
Yeah.
And by that I mean I hope it's like a 70. I hope
Like,
it's a 7.
I don't entirely understand what the premise is. I assume it's just a co-op shooter, but if it is like a payday situation of you and your friends are like, you know, picking out loadouts, you're doing different classes, like figuring out who's going to be doing what, I think that could be a really good time. But yeah, it watching the trailer, it does seem like somebody got access to a genie and they wished this came into existence, and then the monkey's paw curled, and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen when it actually comes out?
Grim Grimoire once more. I love Grim Grimoire on PS2, but I'm good. I don't need to do that. Meet Your Maker.
Might play.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is an interesting looking one. I couldn't tell you the whole premise because it came up one day on a KFGD and I was like, oh, this looks interesting, and then we moved on. But it's basically an asymmetrical multiplayer game where one person is basically like the dungeon master and is creating all these obstacles for the other person who is basically in this first person shooter Doom-like game, and they're battling their way through this tower. And it sounds different. But it sounds like it could be really fun.
Okay.
And that's where the title comes from, Greg. Is Meet Your Maker, because like somebody's making the tower that you're fighting through.
Oh,
yeah.
I get it now. Okay. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. God of Rock. Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores.
Must play.
Must play.
I don't do DLC often, but I'm gonna show up for Aloy. And also in LA, come on, baby, this is made for me. It was literally like they knew I was there watching, and they're like, "Here you go."
Are you gonna visit your house in the game?
I'll try to, without doxing myself, also. But I'll see what they got in there, what they got going on. Yeah, man, me and Aloy, I'll meet you at the In and Out. No, there was one already in the game because that's San Francisco, but you know. Yeah, I'm excited for this. Like, I also am looking forward to seeing like what potential windows we get into advancements they'll make in the franchise in terms of like little quality of life updates or like little like what's gonna be the window into Horizon 3 that I can see through the doorway of Burning Shores, even though this should be flipped because the window is smaller than a door, but you understand. You get the picture I'm painting.
I'm just excited to have more to do in like run, and which is ridiculous because I still haven't gone back to Platinum Forbidden West, but I mean like a new area to explore, see how all the touchstones. You fly by the Hollywood sign here on the trailer, right? Like seeing the LA landmarks, I think will be cool.
Also, let me go through that fog that is like stuck on that end game island.
Sure.
Yeah.
After Image, Dead Island 2.
I get it. It's like a must play, but it's not exciting. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like living for it, but I want to check it out.
It's Forspoken for me, where this one is a must play in the way that you guys were talking about Forspoken being a must play. Where I don't know if it's going to be fantastic, but even if it's not, I want to know why. Like I want to know the things they did wrong. Like I just want to experience this game, especially coming off of Dying Light 2, which I loved way more than I thought I would love. Right? Like if this game could be another Dying Light 2 for me, oh my god, that's gonna be amazing. But even if it's not, I want to give it a try because I'm down for this kind of game.
That's what I mean. I think for me personally, stick with me. I would categorize it as a might play, but it is technically, I guess, a must play. Where like I'm gonna start Dying Light 2. I need to see what this is like. I loved obviously the old Dying Lights, Dead Island. Sorry, I love the old Dead Island. So granted, I know we've gone through development hell, different team, yada yada yada. I still love that kind of zombie world, especially for what this one looks like. So I'm going to start it. How much I play of it, I don't know. Obviously, in terms of if it's decent or not. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
Must play, baby.
Must play.
Might play.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't have faith in this game being good, and I feel like I've taken enough L's with superhero stuff. Like I don't know.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I am interested to see what they do, but by the time May comes around, maybe I just like mail that one in because I don't have a lot of faith this is gonna be good. So I'm like, meh.
I know it's Rocksteady, but I think Gotham Knights did strike the fear of God into me a little bit with this one.
Yes.
But that said, on the other hand, it is Rocksteady, right? And Rocksteady does have a better pedigree. And so you'd hope that some of that quality that you got out of the original Arkham series, you see that here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm right there with you. It's a cautious one. Again, I'm not stoked just by the premise of being the Suicide Squad. That's just not something I love, but I do love Rocksteady games. I do love DC. But somebody, I think it was on Reset Era today, I saw a thread that was just like, yo, it's like 4 months till this game, which is a little inaccurate, right? I guess, yeah, technically May is, well, no, it's like 4.5 months to this game. And it feels like we really don't know much about it, like how it plays and what it looks like and what goes on. And we're seeing a bunch of stuff here. But in terms of like moment-to-moment gameplay and traversals and menus and yada, 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 it's like, that is a weird thing to think about of like, it kind of falls into your Skull and Bones thing, Jen, of like, is it a multiplayer game or what are we doing? And like, how does all this going to shake out together?
And they did something similar when it came to Gotham Knights, right? Like, I feel like we barely knew what the moment to moment was actually going to feel like getting into it outside of like, these are Red Hood's moves and Nightwing's moves and stuff like that. Like, it was hard to just really get a grasp. But I don't know. There's something recently where it's just like, Rocksteady's got the stuff, and I trust. I feel like they've taken the time with this because they can. Whereas like WB Montreal, we knew that they had like at least a canceled game before starting Gotham Knights, where it's like,
sure.
I feel like they just kind of wound up going through all the twists and turns, and they've wound up having to make that game after so long of not making anything right. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
Street Fighter 6.
Oh man, must play. One of my biggest must plays of the year.
I'm excited for you. I'm obviously not a fighting person, but I know how much you are, and you seem to have really loved what you've played of it, right?
Yeah, I've done 2 of the betas now or 2, 3. Oh, I'm gonna say 2. I've done 2 of the betas for Street Fighter 6. The first one had a blast with. The second one was basically just the first one again, and so I didn't play much of it that second time. But for what's there, I think it is coming along fantastically. I like all the new additions. I like the online lobby, and usually I hate when online lobbies are like this run around hangout kind of thing, but I think they've nailed it this time around. All the stuff that they're showing for the single player mode, where it is run around as your created character in this sort of campaign, that seems really cool. And then the fighting itself feels approachable in all the ways that they're putting in these control schemes that are going to be really friendly to new players, but then also in the fact that it's simple, but it has so much depth that you can get into and get better. And I felt myself, even during just the beta, feeling like I was getting better at the game. And I think that's a really important thing to have for people who are either veterans or newcomers into Street Fighter. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. And it seems like it's going to be the big fighting game release of the year because we don't know what NetherRealm's working on. Tekken 8 doesn't have a release window. I imagine that might be 2024. And then Project L doesn't have a release window either. And I imagine that also probably won't hit 2023. And so it's probably the one for everybody to look forward to in terms of fighting games.
Diablo 4.
This one turned into a must play.
It's a must. I love Diablos. It's a must play from the jump. But why did it turn into it for you?
I am not a Diablo person. Diablo's never been something that had interested in me. But listening to Mike and Joey talk about it was actually the thing that turned me. All the things they said about it had me excited. Looking back at the trailers and seeing the amount of quality and the amount of like, oh damn, this just looks cool as fuck. That vibe I got from it, like, I don't know, it sounds exciting. Let alone I read parts of Ryan McCaffrey's preview, and he was talking about it as a must play, right? He was like, dude, yeah, in June, look out for Diablo 4. Like, this is going to be the game to come out, and so yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yeah, see, I love Diablo, and yeah, listening to Mike and Joey talk about it and the improvements in the quality of life stuff, like, yeah, I can't wait. That's a must play for me. Janet.
No,
Okay, just not your bag.
I don't think so. I barely. Yeah, it's. I don't think I'm interested, but we'll
Janet,
see.
what about Final Fantasy 16?
I don't think so either. But I'm more interested in that than Diablo, which I think speaks to how uninterested I am in Diablo.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep my eye on Final Fantasy as I do. Watching those who flock to this franchise from a distance, cautious and careful. I'd like to give it a try, but I gotta be a little bit honest with myself in 2023, and I'm like, probably not, right? But
Okay. For me, yeah, it's a might play as well. Like Final Fantasies that
same
click
person.
with me are, yeah, I know, few and far between. I like the idea. Like, I enjoyed obviously Final Fantasy 7 remake. Could not get excited enough to go on and do, hey, let's do Crisis Core. And then when this one dropped and Tim was nerding out about the trailer and talking about it being, oh man, it's like Game of Thrones. It's like, oh, you know what? That kind of sounds.
This trailer
kind of do that
with like the bloodied child. Like did they reveal this for the first time at like the Game Awards, or had we seen this trailer before? Like I don't remember if this is like a new trailer or not. But watching that live too, like I having never seen it before, I was like, what the fuck? Like I was like, this shit. I'm like, this shit's so dark for no reason. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd like to be the person who does this, but probably not.
It's a must play for me. I am a new Final Fantasy person. Like Final Fantasy 7 remake was really the one that did it for me, where I was like, okay, I give up. These games are awesome, and now I'm gonna start playing them. And everything they've shown so far for Final Fantasy 16, I think has looked great. The some of the combat stuff they've shown off, I think, looks really interesting, and they've talked about in interviews how the director for the combat system is, I believe, the director that did combat for Devil May Cry 5, or not 5, Devil May Cry, the newest one, which might have been 5. I've lost count of them. But the last Devil May Cry had fantastic combat, and so like if you're bringing some of that pedigree into it, then oh yeah, like let's go. All the stuff they've shown off with like the big summon battles and the icons, that stuff looks really cool. And then I think the fantasy setting looks really interesting. Funny enough, me and Tim talk about how we're both not really into like the fantasy side of these games as often, but I'm down to give this more of a college try, right? Like all the things they've shown have appealed to me in ways that invoke the things that people like about something like Game of Thrones, right? Like it has some of those vibes going for it, and so I'm all into it. And also, like, speaking of the trailers, one thing I do love about these trailers is that like you'll see like all this magic, all this cool badass shit going on, and then it'll say Creative Business Unit 3. Like I love that. I love that title for a game developer so much, because it just sounds like an office-y corporate kind of thing. I don't know if that's just a Square Enix thing, but
it's a Square
shout
Enix
out to that.
And then the final game here, July 7th, The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie. And then that's it, ladies and gentlemen. And I know what you're saying in your car, in your bus, on the YouTube. Wait, there are so many other games coming. They all fall into the TBA, TBD category for dates. And you know what I always say about that? Just like on Kinda Funny Games Daily, we're not going to go through every one of these games that just says 2022 or 2023. You got to have a date. You got to have something going. But what I will do is loosen the reins for you, Blessing, you, Janet, and myself, Greg, and say, go through the TBA list, and you're allowed to pick 3 games that are must plays to you. We can be boring and put Spider-Man in there if you want, but we all know Spider-Man's there.
Can we like make Spider-Man not one of the 3? Can we just all agree that we're playing Spider-Man? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I agree 100%, and that's why the 3 I have gone through this extensive list. Again, make your own list, ladies and gentlemen, and tweet it at Barrett. Yeah, you can go through GameInformer.com/2023. The ones I'm nominating for my 3 must plays that are off the beaten path, maybe AEW Fight Forever, of course. Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord, and then Thirsty Suitors. AEW, of course, I'm a wrestling game nut. You all know that. I'm not a big AEW fan, but the fact that it is, hey, here's the spiritual successor to No Mercy, I can't fucking wait for. And I'm not expecting it to be as deep and complex and creative and customizable as WWE 2K series by any stretch of the imagination. But if it's just a fun jump in, pick up, and play wrestling game, I'm going to love that. Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord, we did a sponsored stream with them, but I got to play it and preview it while they were here, and it is VR Ghostbusters. I mean, I think that has limitations of what VR graphics look like on the Quest 2 and yada, 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 but I had fun, and I'm excited to see what that early build I play turns into in terms of a VR game, especially on PSVR 2. And then the final one, as I tossed out there, was Thirsty Suitors. This is from the team that made Falcon Age. This is the one of, going through and battling and cooking and dealing with your parents and all these different things. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So those are the 3 I can't wait for. But Janet, what did you pick?
I mean, just trying to pick 3 and trying to pick 3 that you guys haven't already picked. I mean, there's definitely more than 3, but the 3 that I first were drawn to was Alan Wake 2, which is kind of a weird one because I didn't play Alan Wake 1, but I want to play that and then play Alan Wake 2. I think just the vibes and the setting of that world are really appealing to me. So like that's one that I'm excited for, even though admittedly I'd want to like play the first one first. I also go with Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals. I loved Oxenfree 1. I will say I'm a little nervous to be there at launch because I was at launch for After Party, and I feel like a lot of times this team, there's some bugs in the beginning. It's a little bit like jank when the stuff hits at launch, but the content of like Oxenfree 1 is like absolutely phenomenal. After Party was good, but I don't think it hit those highs. So for them to go back to Oxenfree and do more with that is super exciting to me. And the last one that I picked out was the Plucky Squire, which I feel like could be this year's, oh my God, why am I Tinykin? Kind of in the sense that they both are evoking that like childhood bedroom vibe to them. And this is sort of like the premise is you're both like, I think in like a 2D and 3D plane, like kind of coming out of a storybook or going through a storybook. And from the moment this is like one of those ones where like, as soon as I see it, I'm like already interested. Whether or not they stick the landing on that, we'll have to see when it comes out. But I think just the art, the idea, speaking of other things that I'm like, in love with in terms of gaming, like one thing is like a small character in like a big world, especially when the world isn't actually big. It's like a regular size world, but they're real small. So like that's this game. So I'm like, oh my God, the art is just, it looks so gorgeous and so cool and unique in some of the other like genres they're pulling in. I am excited about this. It also evokes the vibes of It Takes Two, the bedroom area, especially like they had that segment where it had the different like genres they were paying homage to, which I mean was kind of the whole game, right? But like it reminds me of those elements and those things appeal to me so heavily that I'm really excited about this. It also reminds me of like Mario Odyssey, the 2D, 3D thing, where you like go in the 2D world and you bounce out. Like so many cool things in this. I hope this game ends up being awesome because it looks great.
Bless you.
Hell yeah. I'm glad you picked the Plucky Squire because that was one of the 3 I was gonna pick. Now I can free myself up to pick another one. I'm gonna say Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. I am not an Armored Core person, but I am a From Software person. And you know what? I am down to explore and experiment with my game tastes, and so I do want to try out this Armored Core game because mechs just seem cool. And I think modern From Software could have a really interesting take on mechs. You said name a game with mechs?
Yeah,
is this like a bless you thing?
Yeah. Where I'm like, oh my God, what? And I named one game and then no one picked it. I was so upset. I have so much. Oh, that was
I forgot I had that question for Kind of Feedy. I was gonna start naming games. I was like, what's that Switch game that I didn't like because it was too slow?
It's a good question.
It's a really good question. But yeah, Armored Core 6, I'm all about. Let's see here. Stellar Blade, that looks really interesting. That was one that was in, I want to say one of the latest PlayStation State of Plays, and just looks like a really fun action game. So shout out to that. And then my third one is Lies of P, another action game that looks almost like it has like a lot of Bloodborne stuff going for it, but it is actually adapting Pinocchio in that story. Yeah, and like it looks like fucked up Pinocchio basically, Greg.
And like Soul's Pinocchio too,
Yeah. And it looks really cool, and I'm all about it. So those are my 3.
Excellent picks, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know what you think in the comments for your picks, for your things, for what you're looking for. But for now, before we get out of here, give me an abbreviated This Week in PlayStation blessing, because it was CES and a bunch of stuff happened.
It was CES. This week in PlayStation, I'm going to tell you about everything announced at PlayStation's CES presentation. This is Logan Plant at IGN. Sony's CES 2023 press conference is wrapped up, and the company shared a handful of updates for PlayStation gamers. The headline is Project Leonardo, which is a brand new accessibility controller kit in development for PS5. Sony also shared updates on the Gran Turismo movie, PSVR 2, and more. Project Leonardo is PlayStation's brand new accessibility controller kit that's currently in development. There's no word yet on a release date or price, but Leonardo aims to, quote, remove barriers to gaming and help players with disabilities play more easily, more comfortably, and for longer periods on PS5, end quote. It was developed with contributions from accessibility experts, community members, and game developers. Sony shared a first look at the upcoming Gran Turismo movie, which is set to hit theaters in August. The footage had words from stars Archie Madekwe, Orlando Bloom, and David Harbour, and showed off the movie's combination of real-life racing and Gran Turismo action. Then PlayStation's Jim Ryan announced on stage that the PS5 has passed 30 million units sold. Ryan also stated that the PS5 shortage is essentially over, saying, quote, "Everyone who wants a PS5 should have a much easier time finding one at a retailer globally starting from this point forward," end quote. And then Gran Turismo 7 will also have a PSVR 2 port or support when the new VR platform launches next month. The VR features will be available as a free upgrade for those that own Gran Turismo 7. VR hit Beat Saber is also heading to PSVR 2, although a release date was not announced. To which I was watching the presentation before this episode of PS Love You, and I hit that part of the presentation where Jim Ryan announced that Beat Saber is coming to PSVR 2, and I took a screenshot and I sent it to you guys and said, this nearly turned me into the Joker, because it better be coming to PSVR 2, because this Beat Saber, one of the most popular VR games, was available on PSVR.
Just not at launch, plus, sorry.
Just not at launch for some reason.
Outrageous that it's not a launch game. And I mean, I get it, and I know game development takes time, but it's like, what? Beat Saber's not okay. All right. Whatever.
Did you guys have any, I guess, favorite takeaways from this CES presentation?
Hey man, shout out for the Project Leonardo. That's awesome. It's really cool. You know, I saw we talked about it in Games Daily, and I quoted Steven Spawn from Able Gamers talking about it and being like, listen, like, don't compare it to the Xbox accessibility controller. This is like comparing a DualSense to an Elite controller. It's rad that there's another option. It's rad that it's different. So if that, you know, the Xbox One wasn't for you, and this would be, and vice versa, like the connectivity of it, being able to use two of them paired with a DualSense, I think is really cool. And the blog post talking about it, you know, really opened my eyes of like, oh, right, of like, you know, that way you could configure it where even if you could only use one of the three parts, other people in the room could, so you could still play the game in some way. That's really, really cool. And I was shocked that I liked the Gran Turismo trailer. I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Like, yeah, this seems like a fun thing. This story of this kid, you know, who plays in the video game competition and then gets in there like Last Starfighter or whatever.
With a car, you know.
That's not what he meant when there's a love story and you know it. They showed two people getting kissy.
But that's where they start off, Greg. At the end, by the time he's with a car.
Oh my God!
Whoa.
Janet, what did you think of it? What stood out to you?
I mean, other than the Gran Turismo part, pretty much the same thing you mentioned, like with Project Leonardo. Just kind of, I feel like we've mentioned it before on the show of how, like, again, not to say that they're one-to-one, because I had the same like tweets from Steven pulled up in my tab, but feeling like, why hasn't PlayStation done something like it? Or like, why haven't they like seemingly like produced something in the vein of accessibility accessories? So to see them finally like have that is really great. And, you know, like hopefully you see that across like multiple gaming companies, and like that becomes more standardized, just because again it creates those additional options. And yeah, the Beat Saber thing is funny, and I'm excited for, like, I'm weirdly excited for PSVR 2, even though I don't even know if I have one. Like, I have to figure out to wrangle one, but I don't know, it's like it's happening and I'm there, you know what I mean?
It's happening and I'm there. Put on the box. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. The Project Leonardo, I think, was probably the big standout from the presentation. But also shout out to the fact that PS5s are more available. You know, like, I'll believe it when I see it. But 30 million units sold, I think, does speak in volume in terms of like, all right, cool. These things are getting out on the streets. People are getting their hands on them, and the more that PS5s are available, I think the more things you can do with the PS5, right? I think that gives me a little bit more confidence on things like PSVR 2, right? Sure. If you're able to buy a PS5, all right, thank God then, because like now that means that PSVR 2 could possibly be successful, right? And that's a whole different conversation when you get into the software for PSVR 2, but at least that's a start.
Well, Beat Saber's coming, don't worry.
Oh, thank God, Beat Saber's coming. But then, yeah, things like PS5 first-party software and games coming exclusively to the PS5, right? I think that's been another conversation of, well, of course, you would release games on PS4 as well, because you already have that big install base there, and people can't get their hands on PS5s anyway. Yeah, now that the PS5 is more available, I think that transition into making exclusive PS5 games and focusing on current gen can happen more and more and quicker. And so, yeah, shout out to that. And then I forget. Oh, the one thing I'll say about this presentation is that when it was reported yesterday that this presentation was happening and that PlayStation was going to talk about VR, the question that immediately came to mind was, all right, but how much are they going to talk about VR? It's going to be another one of those things where it's like, oh, by the way, VR is coming, or is it going to be hey, here are all the reasons you should care about VR? And I will say this presentation felt a little bit more, all right, yeah, VR is coming. We got a bunch of games for it. And then you look at the list I shared a list of games on the PS Love You Slack of like every game coming to VR. And it's a large number. It's like what, 30 games at launch and then
more than
100 games announced. And you look through the list of games though, and actually read the titles, and it's like, all right, but how many of these am I really excited for? I'm excited for Horizon.
Well, it's funny you asked that. We have the list, and we're going to do must play, might play, and pass.
Oh, let's go.
Jumping Jack Simulator 23. Are you going to play it?
Oh, man. That's a might play for me. That's a might play. But yeah,
It's
it's
already
like
free on Switch.
Horizon's exciting. I'm sure Resident Evil
course.
Village is going to hit for some people because RE7 VR was great. And like, I'm sure the Beat Saber's going to come someday. Hopefully Half-Life Alyx gets announced someday. I don't know, but
they're saving that for
presentation didn't do much for me.
Whatever presentation they're doing before they launch this thing in February. You hope that's when they're like,
they're not doing a presentation before
they got to do
February.
something
They're
before
not even,
February.
Listen, we can do a pizza bet.
Even
I bet
if it's just a list of shit on the blog one day of like, hey,
I think that's the most
You know how it'll be random ass Tuesday morning, 7:45 a.m. Pacific. Hey, by the way, we're gonna announce 6 PlayStation VR 2 games today.
You know what though? Despite all of this, I think I'm gonna finally pull the trigger. I'm gonna pre-order it. I got the tab pulled up. When this is done, I'm gonna go and pre-order it. Why not?
Wow.
You make more. You get more money every month.
Horizon on Janet, you know.
I mean, I'm like, okay, $550. I'll make a couple videos. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Watch them. I need a lot back for this. But you know what? When I bought PSVR 1, I bought it with the same idea. I'm like, I'm going to buy this because, well, 1, I'm interested in VR. And 2, I'm like, I'm going to do all the VR reviews at PlayStation Lifestyle. Like, I'm going to make my money back via the reviews. But, like, I never did because, well, 1, like you only do so many reviews. 2, the reviews didn't like pay very well. So it's like I'm ready to not make my money back again on PSVR. Let's go. Let's run it back. But we have a nicer setup this time. So
do you think they even do a state of play?
No.
I have no faith in anything anymore.
They're not
honestly,
going to. They don't care about VR.
You mentioned the Joker thing.
Do you think the words are good enough? You think they're looking and they're like the vibe on the street is good enough?
No, I just don't think they care. I think they're like, shit, we got to put out this VR thing. All right, I just let Jim Ryan talk about it at CES to show none of our audience watches. Also,
not me looking at like, hold on, PSVR 2 Sense controller charging station. I gotta get the charging station too. So
you're not gonna get the charging station for that.
Why not? How am I gonna charge them? I just gotta plug them in. Like, I'll get a little charging station.
Where are you gonna put the charging? It's gonna gather so much dust.
Next to the other charging station.
It's gonna gather so much dust.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are no PlayStation picks this week. There was no drop. When PlayStation shuts down for the winter break, there's nowhere to approve games, so you can't put them out. So this has been another episode of PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, we're your PlayStation podcast, and we post each and every Friday morning on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and podcast services around the globe. No matter where you get the show, maybe you want to consider come getting it on patreon.com/KindaFunny. On patreon.com/KindaFunny, of course, you could watch us record it live. You could get it ad-free. You could get one of the 38 bonus episodes of content we do over there each and every month. No matter how you enjoy the show, thank you for enjoying it. Consider like, subscribe, sharing, reviewing, Patreon, sharing with your friends, yelling at your mom, go to your grandma's account and get into her Amazon and then make a Twitch account and then give it to Kinda Funny Games and do all that jazz. Remember, of course, if you're using Epic Games, the store, or playing some of them Epic Games on your PlayStation, you can use the creator code Kinda Funny. For now, it's time for us to go, but I do have big news for you. Next week, the one and only gameplay and roller skating marathon run, and Janet Garcia is coming to San Francisco, if it hasn't washed away, and doing Game of the Year with us. That's right. On Monday, we will be revealing Kinda Funny's Game of the Year as a live gamescast. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, Twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames, 10 a.m. Pacific, the usual Games Daily slot. Everyone will be there. Paris will be there. Mike will be there. We're going to go through and reveal our top 10s. Barrett has it already set. We will find out live together what is Kinda Funny's Game of the Year. And then that next Tuesday, Paris and Janet are going to host Games Daily, but most importantly, we will do another Everyone at the Table XCast versus PS I Love You XOXO Fantasy Critic Draft. It'll be Gary, it'll be Mike, it'll be Paris, it'll be Blessing, it'll be me, it will be Janet, and we will go through once again and crown last season's winner. Don't want to give it away, Janet. Well, great job. You know what I'm saying over there? And then see what's going to happen for this year. For now, I digress. If you have an arc, send it our way. And until next time, no, it's been our pleasure to serve you.